Hello everyone, and welcome to my new Let's Look At. If you don't know what this is, it is Toukiden 2, a hunting game from Tecmo Koei. Now if you played Monster Hunter, I'm sure you're familiar with what hunting games are. For those who are unfamiliar, the basic concept is you kill a bunch of Oni, or hunt monsters, or whatever the game is. You gather their hide, their arms, their leg bones, their tails, what have you. You go to the blacksmith, you carve out, craft some gear out of it. Weapons, armor, what have you. You go kill more powerful stuff, and so on and so forth, until you pretty much killed everything in the game. The thing that sets this game apart is the Demon Hand, which we'll be getting to when we get into the fight, and the mitama system. The mitama system is very unique, in that you have 3 slots. Think of these like your, I don't want to say your perks, but for the purposes of people who don't know what the game is, I guess that'd work. The attack style, the evasion skill, and the demon hand skill is what I call it. They call it attack skill, but basically the demon hand skill is what we're going to call it. This is what I call it just because I have the demon hand thingy there. Anyway, the attack style determines what attacks and skills you can use. For example, the attack, or the attack style has things that ups your damage like might and carnage, and rewards you for attacking like leech. Whereas things like the defense have a lot more, well, defensive stuff. And so on and so forth. And I'll go on these briefly so you can pause the video and read it if you want to, what each individual style basically encompasses. That's not to say that HLG cannot do damage. For example, like Lady Takayasha is phenomenal damage for archers. I'm just saying, you know, they're not pigeonholed. Just because you might use HLG doesn't mean you have to heal all your teammates all the time. And yeah, so yeah. Anyway, a lot of these have a lot of different uses. Like, well, deceit is more for standing behind your enemy and, well, doing a lot of tricky stuff. Using an illusion so you can not be attacked. And puncture to, you know, just try and take out body parts surreptitiously. And poisoning them if you have the right setup. And stupor just to kind of stun lock it. Whereas SBC is more about strategic placing yourself with warp, so you can move across the battlefield faster. Sanctum, so if you know that thing is about to fall off, you can just place a sanctum down, it'll fall off right into that, and it'll start purifying right away. You know, things like that. Luck, I know one person who uses luck a lot. I can't stand RNG, so I usually don't do it, but hell, I mean, it must work because that person does great with it. That's not my style, at least it's not yet. I haven't tried it too much, I'll admit. And yeah, the thing is, you might notice you have 160. Yeah, you have to find all of them. Usually, these come from just playing the game, fighting things, killing them, purifying Oni. Some of them you do have to find in the open world. Excuse me, some of them you have to do side quests for, some of them you have to just grind an Oni until you can have a drop. I'm trying to think of any other ways off the top of my head. I can't think of any, but it's not that bad as long as you utilize the shrine benefits. Now, as far as the evasion skill, each individual thing has different, well, things that it does for you. Again, each individual one has different... When the hell did I get that? I don't even remember you. Oh, that's new. I don't think I... Okay, whatever. I'm just getting off topic now, but still, I don't remember having that. Now, evasion skills usually trigger when you do something specific. For example, the curse whenever you use your grappling ability, essentially. So, if you do that, it slows the enemy down. Or if you get hit with a status ailment, or if you perform the ritual purification. Or you can read them all there. Anyway, and for the final one, again, these all do different things, but that's not the only thing. The bread and butter of the system lies in the boosts, which is kind of determine your build. For example, my build right now is very brute force, and you're not going to stop me from attacking no matter what you want to do. Because of Unke. Unke's Sculpture of the Soul is phenomenal if you're, well, getting pushed back a lot while trying to charge up your 9-stage Devastator. It's phenomenal for that. And generally with a club, I would recommend that you use something with prescience. For example, Japan's Finest Warrior incorporates prescience along with increasing your focus when you use the weapon correctly. Arms of Steel is a kind of a quality of life thing for club users, or I guess that also would work for Naginata, and I'm trying to think what else has hyperstate, but I can't think off the top of my head. But yeah, all these different things you can choose. You only have 3 on each one. Excuse me, so you have to pick and choose what perks you want out of the mitama you use. And you do have to level them up if you want the maximum effectiveness with each one of them. But this is my build currently, as you saw there. Frame by inch, I don't know why I have O-ring wraps on. That's kind of a stupid thing. I think it's because I was showcasing the arrows last time, but we'll get rid of that for now, because it's kind of a stupid thing to use on this. I don't really need that right now. Let's just go with something a little more, I don't know, not quite so expensive. Increase the max of the focus gauge. I don't really need that. No. There we go. We'll use one of these. I have enough for that. That activates the food buff. That's the worst one. You get it's a random between small, medium, and large. Obviously, you want the large. The shrine is, well, if you want to either up your leveling up of your mitama, or if you want to try and find new mitama. They do cost a sacred branch, but you get a fair amount of those just playing the game and buying them from the shop, which is behind me to my right. This is the shop. You can buy numerous things from this man, including usually you can find a... Well, he don't have one right now because I think I bought it, but he does have sacred branches, along with different food, materials for crafting, materials for transposing. There's the blacksmith. And I think I've went over the mitama system well enough, so let's get into the action, right? Let's do that. Now, if you want to go into the story section, you want to stay here. Personally, I don't really have anything I want to fight in the story section right now, so we're going to be going into the group section. The group, of course, you don't have to do that, but after you beat the game, you can change the difficulty setting from these portal stones, but we're not going to do that. If you want to go to a different area, you just choose where you want to go. If you want to play online, you obviously hit play online. And usually, if you're setting up a room, you set it up yourself. Make sure it's set to invite only if you want only people that you invite there. Or set up a password. But we're going into single player. But don't worry, that don't mean you're going to solo things. Because this game is extremely solo friendly, even in the online section. Which kind of doesn't make sense, but it is. Say you don't have anybody online. I know one person online right now, but I think they're AFK. But I won't say I want to fight. We'll say... Who should I fight today? We'll fight... Trying to think what would be a decent fight to watch. Pisces is kind of easy. Dracwing always kicks my butt. What would be totally annoying to fight? Jeez. We'll fight Venom Queen. Yeah, we'll fight her. Now, these top 2 are designer NPCs that are part of the story. Not going to go into who they are because, well, that's spoiling things. These bottom 4 are player NPCs. Now, I played personally with Alexia and Jessica. That's 2 characters of a person I know. Miguel and Ryujin, though, they came from joint operations all around the open world. And as there is an open world section, the multiplayer is not open world. That is a negative. But in some of the missions, you go through a lot of the world, but it's not completely open world. So, for example, if I tried to go into a lobby and we tried to just exit, hell, even if it was by myself, I don't think they let you go. Yeah, they don't let you go out in the open world in the online lobbies. But yeah, that is how it works. You can find random people's, what do you call it? Where was she at? Oh god. She was at the, there she is. So we'll bring along Alexia and Jessica. I like those 2 characters, the way they're set up. And we'll bring along Manazuru, because she's the healer type HLG. She does have a lot of healing types, and she will generally try and revive you if you screw up. So yeah, let's get going. I think I've went over most of what is important. Oh yeah, if you want to know, are there a lot of different things, or is it just like the same things like Nio over like enemy types? There's a lot of different types. Some of them are reskins, some of them are not. There's not a whole lot of medium Oni, but there's a lot of large Oni, which is kind of what the bread and butter of the game is. It might not look like a lot, but trust me, there's a lot, and you're going to have trouble remembering what all they're weak and strong to. And if you are using an elemental build, I highly recommend that you do that, because if you use the wrong one, they're basically doing zilch all damage with your elemental attacks. Like, don't use Earth against an enemy that's good against Earth. Otherwise, you're going to be doing next to no damage. You're going to be doing basically the weapon damage, and that's it. Whereas if you actually use what it's weak to, you'll be doing double damage with the elemental damage on top of the weapon damage, which is a hell of a lot more damage. So pay attention to what you're doing if you're using an elemental build, basically. Now, the club's big, I don't want to say gimmick. It's not really a gimmick. It is kind of its gimmick. But the club's big thing makes little to no sense, in my opinion. You want to hit with the very tip of it. That would make sense if it was a spear to me, but I guess it's just to make it more difficult to use. Someone's using... I forget what that's called. Anyway, you want to hit with the very tip of the thing, which I just screwed up massively because it keeps moving. Why do they insist on using paradox? Wah! You do that so that you can up into your hyperpower state. And you do a hell of a lot more damage. If you saw that big orange... the big orange... I don't want to say explosion. That usually... Yeah, right there. That means you got the correct hit. If you don't see that, usually that means you either whiffed or outright missed with it. Okay, can you just stop trying to hug me? I don't want to hug you. You're pretty and all, but I don't want to get that close to you. It's a little difficult to do if they're just moving the boss around, or if the boss is just moving around, or just kind of sliding along the ground. And then she just... Well, at least this will be a hell of a thing to land. I missed. Using a club is about anticipating... Why are you just sliding along the ground? Stop pushing her. For God's sake, stop moving. It's kind of hard to do that when you guys move her. Usually, you don't want to just go uncharged with the club. Usually, you want to charge your strikes because you do more damage, and it's usually a lot better to do so. I just got hit by a status effect, but thankfully, someone knocked me out of being asleep. And like I said, club is one of those brute force, I'm going to do a crap load of damage and just break things if you can know what you're doing kind of weapons. Oh, she moved, right? And I did that. That was my fault. I should have known she was going to do that. She always does that when she uses that move. Hey, she walked right into it. And that broke one of her arms. I was kind of a mistake, I'll admit that, but it worked pretty well. Trying to get behind you. Stop going at me. There are 3 other people here. Stop aiming at me. I have never seen her just non-stop use that red thing, but she's just non-stop moving. I use my cooldowns at a very poor time. I usually do these things. I missed the sweet spot, I think, or maybe I didn't. I couldn't tell there, but... Using a club is not the easiest weapon to use. Just put it that way. It's fairly involved as to what you know you're supposed to do. I don't remember her moving around quite so much, but hell... What she's doing is trying to regain her limbs, because we didn't purify things, but it worked pretty well for her. I missed the sweet spot because she's right next to me, but at least I think I got her tentacle there. Those tentacles are annoying, man. They are. Now, generally, with the club, the more you use the sweet spot attacks, the longer you stay in hyper stance, which is what your ideal thing is. You want to stay in hyper stance because I don't know if you do more damage, but you do. I know you do charge faster, which is a really good thing to have. I'm just standing right in front of her, not a shit given. Not usually where you want to be with her. Triangle attack is a lot faster. It doesn't do quite as much damage as the big 3-hit combo, but it is a lot faster charging. It does have a better range, which is what this is. Whereas holding square is really just for kind of... I'm trying to build up my hyperstate gauge, is what square's for. Now, if you hold X and square, it's a parry. God knows I'm not going to land it. I could try, but I don't think it's going to do very well. Stop pushing her toward me. Damn it. You see her? She's just like sliding along the ground toward me. I've never seen a boss do this. Unless someone uses like paradox. Then that kind of makes sense because it's a black hole of sorts. But... Oh, hell. I was going to say, oh, hell, I can try it, but I don't think it's going to work. Trying to land a parry. I've only landed one, and that was against a Carcillus or whatever they're called. Stop moving your tentacle. I just spin her around. It's not annoying for a person that has to have precise aim or anything, man. That's just keep doing it. You don't have to be at the proper distance all the time. It makes it a hell of a lot better. But If you know the angles of your attacks, you can actually just sit underneath people, and if you angle yourself the right way, you can get those precision strikes with the club. Yeah, purification, the way the whole thing works is, if I didn't do that, but if you use this, if you click R3, you'll see the bosses. You'll see 2 bars. The bottom one, which is, think of it like armor. You have to expend all the enemy's armor. And then you'll see the top, I don't know if there's the top or the bottom bar. I think the top bar is armor, and then the bottom bar is its health. And you deplete, well, its armor by chopping off limbs, attacking it. Bottom line is you gotta attack it a bunch. Just think of it like that, and then its life force will appear and you can start damaging it. It's not that complicated. I just didn't do a very good job explaining it, but that's basically the gist of it. I don't get to use that word very often, gist. I don't know if that's even a word. But that is essentially it. It's a very solo-friendly game, whereas in Monster Hunter, if you don't have anybody that plays that, or they're not online, you're basically relegated to either trying to solo stuff, which is a hell of a thing, or, well, gathering and crafting, which, you know, in this game you have NPC things, even in group quests, so it's a lot more solo-friendly. It's not as hardcore as Monster Hunter because you don't have to worry about max stamina going down just by running and attacking a lot. You don't have to eat stuff for your stamina to go back up. And you have a lot more freedom of positioning by using your demon hand, which is hitting R2. So somebody might say, well, that don't sound as difficult. Well, the game is still plenty difficult at times, let me tell you. I've seen my fair of one-shots so far. I'm not proud of it, but I've seen my fair share of one-shots. And I know people who play this thousands of hours are still afraid of many of the things. Or a few of the things, anyway. I don't know about many of the things. A few of the enemies, they said they still fear them. And they know pretty much everything about the game. So I would say this game's still plenty difficult. It's just not as tedious as Monster Hunter can be. Make no mistake, I love Monster Hunter. I used to be a big snob when it came to hunting games. Like, Monster Hunter or bust, man. But this game's really good. It is fantastic. I didn't give it a fair shot the first time I played the first game, the Kiwami, which I don't think technically is the first game. It's like the reloaded version or whatever. But I didn't technically like the first one too much, but I didn't give it much of a chance. I doubt I'll ever go back to it, though, because I heard that once you go with the Demon Hand, it's hard to go back to the original. But it's a lot more accessible. A lot more, I don't want to say streamlined, because it's not, but it is a fantastic game. There's a free-to-play version of it on the PSN store right now. I wouldn't recommend you buy any of the pay for, like, the gems or whatever they sell. If you like it, I recommend you just buy the game, because I think your save data still transfers over. But if you want to try it, it's free. So go right ahead. I would highly recommend you do so. Did I ever go on the weapon types? Hell, I don't remember if I did or not, but if I didn't, I guess I can... Oh, yeah, I think I did, but I don't remember. There's a bunch of different weapon types. So, you'll no doubt find your niche. Personally, I like the Great Hammer or the... Excuse me, I'm sorry, or the Longbow. I know some people go, what? You like the Longbow? Yeah, that or the knives. I suck with the knives, but... those are my 3 favorites so far. I'm starting to try things a little more now. I might try the gauntlets next, but... you'll find a weapon type that you like. If you stick with it and give it a fair shot and do the training and learn the intricacies of the boss fights, you will feel like a badass at the end of it. But like I said, it's not quite as punishing as Monster Hunter, but that's fine. Well, it can be very punishing if you do the high-level stuff. You didn't see me getting hit by, like, a lot of her attacks. Some of her attacks would probably outright kill me. Well, maybe not, because I do have Unke and do have a lot of elemental resistances, but if you don't have a lot of defense in the high-level stuff, you can get one-shot very easily. But in story mode, it's pretty streamlined, pretty easy. I don't want to say easy, but it's a lot easier in story mode. So if you're scared, like, I don't want to just get one shot and play this game, you know, don't worry about it. By the time you get the stuff where you're going to get one shot, you'll have a good idea of what's going to happen, so you hopefully won't get one shot quite so often. But thank you guys very much for watching. Hopefully, I shall see you guys in my next video. Farewell, everyone. Until then.